Hello! The purpose of this screencast is threefold. First, I'm going to explain to you the Minnesota Treaty Presentation Project. Second, I have learned over the years that students tend to glean more information from something that is virtual on a screen than from me up in the front of the room blah blah blahing. So maybe you'll take in all this information better because it speaks your language. Three, you can go back to this at any time and review it in case you miss anything. So, Minnesota Treaty Project. Students will become an expert on one of the three key treaties made between the U.S. government and the Dakota. There are three treaties: Treaty of Traverse des Sioux, Treaty of Mendota, Treaty of 1805. You will be assigned one of these. You'll work with some classmates on it. These are sources, and these are the only sources you're going to use because this is not meant to be a big research project. You're just going to use one source, and you can see the name of the treaty aligns with it. This is from the course website, and it takes you a link to the particular web page that focuses on this project, and it also gives you some examples from past student work. So, Minnesota Treaty Presentation Project. These are meant to be starters. So they get you started, and they have a lot of information on them about the actual project. So I'm going to open up Treaty of 1805. I'm also going to open up the Treaty of Traverse des Sioux. They're very similar, but there are some small differences. So we'll be following the Treaty of 1805 thread. And so you have this kind of title slide that gets you started. Don't need to worry about that. That just tells you what you're doing. Description. This is overall what you're doing. You're making a 4 to 6 slide presentation on an important Minnesota treaty between the Dakota and the U.S. government. You are going to tell us the background, what led up to the treaty. You're going to tell us the conditions of the treaty. In other words, what the treaty said and the aftermath. How did it impact the Native people, the white people, the U.S. government, etc. I also want you working on outline form with notes. Learnings, things that you're going to learn by the end of this. Big one is here, motivations. Why did Dakota signed treaties they knew that sometimes wouldn't really benefit them all that much, but they felt like they had to? What motivated the U.S. government to sign treaties? And then you're going to become an expert in one of the three treaties. And I want you also to study the impacts. These treaties have huge impacts that are impacting us to this day. And then finally, practice taking notes using outline form. Audience. You're going to present to your classmates. They're going to take notes on what you say, so you better be an expert. Middle school. You're going to put this up, or these are going to be up on the message board. Everybody's going to see them. Make sure you have complete sentences. Website. I'm going to put it on the Google Classroom page so everybody can look at your work. Grading. You know this scale very well. Just know there also should be a 6 up here, or is a 6. That's if you exceed expectations. Otherwise, you know the scale. And then sometimes some things are out of 1. That's either a yes or no situation. Did the slide have an image? Yes, 1 point. No, 0 points. Okay, I'm going to grade you on research. Is it complete? Is it accurate? Is it paraphrased? Are you using outline form? If you don't know what outline form is, I'm going to show you down the road. So you're graded on your research. You're going to be graded on the writing itself. The presentation includes appropriate titles. So in other words, the titles match the text or the body text. Complete sentences are being used. I'll show you a trick of how to do that. Grammar and mechanics is all good. Content is complete, so you're using at least 3 bullets. I don't think you'll have a problem using 3 or even more. Information's accurate, and you use everything's put in a logical order so that when I look at it, I understand it. Appearance. This is what your slides look like. They have 18 size font for the body text. It has to be that way so when it's on the message board in the Commons, it's large enough for everybody to see it. Titles are 28 to 30. Quality of images is good. 500 by 500 or larger, so the resolution is good so we can see the image and it's not fuzzy. Images enhance information. Don't show me an image of a rock when you're talking about the Treaty of Traverse des Sioux. It doesn't make any sense. So make sure you're using images that match the content. Visual information is balanced. This means that you pay attention to maybe having an image on the right, text on the left, title up top. That's nice symmetry. It's nicely balanced. Then people aren't focusing on your organization of the slide. They're getting information. If you do wacky stuff on the slide, people are only going to focus on the wacky stuff and not what you're saying. And then visual information is consistent. Make sure font style, font size, image size and quality, organization of visual information. Make sure it's all consistent. That's important so that from slide to slide of your presentation, it looks like one uniform project. Okay, grading. You're graded on collaboration. So who you are working with. Some of you, this is going to be no problem at all. Others, it's something they need to focus on. So make sure you're focused on the task. So you're doing what you need to be doing. You're giving your best effort. You're meeting all the deadlines to help your group. You're following assigned tasks. So maybe you and your group members assign different roles and you're fulfilling those roles. And then also you're respectfully doing everything with your group members, solving problems, sharing ideas, etc. Okay, grading. This is for the presentation. So as presenters, you need to make sure you're speaking loudly, you're facing the audience, you're not doing any distracting behavior like picking your nose or staring at the wall, but you're looking at your audience and allowing people to focus on your work. Use note cards. You're going to have a little time to practice this. Set it up so you don't need to look back at your screen. Finally, divide the work evenly. Everybody's going to be speaking about the same amount. Okay, organization. I'm going to break you up into 3 groups when I'm done with this video. Generally, once you get started with the work, there's a reader, a note taker, and designer. You should choose your role based on your strength. If you have a dispute or a conflict over the role, use rock, paper, scissors, let chance decide. Okay, step 1, this is huge. So first thing you're going to do right when we're done with this video is you're going to familiarize yourself with the treaty. And I'm going to be handing you a paper copy of the research page. You're going to read that aloud to everybody in the group. And you're just going to read through it once. After you've read it, you're going to take 5 minutes to ask these questions. And basically, what was happening before the treaty? What made the treaty necessary? What did the treaty say? What did the U.S. government get? What did the Dakota receive out of the treaty? And how did it impact Minnesota? Right when you're done reading, you discuss these questions to make sure everybody understands. So somebody in your group needs to take on a leadership role. That can be the reader, and then the reader can ask these questions. After you've read, then you're ready to gather information, and you're going to use the same source. For people that are doing the Treaty of 1805, you're actually using something out of Northern Lights, page 101 to 103. And when you're taking notes, outline form, you're writing directly on the slides. So your notes are in this presentation. I'll show you in a sec. And each slide is a paragraph from the source. So if you have 9 paragraphs in the source, you're going to have 9 slides to take notes on. Finally, divide the workload evenly. So when you're gathering information, everybody has a task or a job. These pink slides that you see, these are all for note-taking. Do not change the color, don't change the font. This is not your final presentation. This is just like a notebook. So this is where you're gathering information. If you're doing the Treaty of 1805, you'll notice that you're reading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 paragraphs. So there's 1 slide per paragraph. This slide at the start just shows you outline form. Here's what outline form looks like. Here's an example with what foods to eat. You got your subtopic, 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 details about dinner. Okay? Once you get to taking notes, I want you to get rid of, so you got to think of a topic. What is the topic after you've read it? Delete this and write the topic. What subtopics did you come across? And generally what I tell students is take the notes first, get the subtopics, get the details, last do the topic, because that'll come to you after you've read the entire paragraph. Do the same thing when you move on to paragraph 2. Now if I go to the Treaty of Traverse des Sioux, you're going to notice that you are not reading out of the textbook, you're reading from a web page. Treaty of Traverse des Sioux, and it's pretty concise. This is also what you're reading aloud to your group. So that link should take you there. That's one of the only differences. When you are done gathering information, you've moved on to step 3. This is where you're going to start organizing your slides. You need at least 4 slides. you need to divide the information into 4 topic groups. Here's your 4 topic groups. Background, what led up to the treaty. Story of the negotiations. That means, how did people get to the meeting spot? Where was the meeting spot? What people were involved in meeting? Results of the treaty. How were the groups involved in the treaty impacted? Results of the treaty is, what did the treaty say? Aftermath is, how were the groups impacted? So this is what you're dividing your presentation in. These are the 4 slides. Step 4, publish and present. This is where you're going to make sure that you have images and that your images complement the text. You're going to make sure your titles are the right size. Your font is 18 font in the body text. You can use the Mendez trick. Here's the Mendez trick. Students will, because it helps you make complete sentences. Select. Students will. Use. Students will. Check for errors. You get the idea. And then I add a period at the end, because now it's a complete sentence, but it's also using bulleted notes. So it allows you to keep that expectation of using complete sentences. Finally, these 4 slides are your presentation slides. You can change them however you see fit, change the color, change the font, add effects, etc. You have the 4 basic groups here. Background, story of the negotiations. You have the results of the conditions of the treaty. You have the aftermath, and there's a little question that's written there that's going to help guide what needs to go on there. So from all these notes up here, you got to boil all these notes that you've taken up here down into just these 4 groups. And you can add a slide just by copying and pasting. And so you can, if you need more room to tell the story of the negotiations, just add a slide. All right, we have gone through the explanation. Right now, you are going to receive one of these sources here from your teacher, a paper copy. And you're going to sit down with your group. One person's going to read aloud the source to the rest of the group, or you can divide it and you're just going to listen. Then you're going to go back and you're going to answer these important questions right here under step 1, which your teacher will have projected up on the board. Are there any questions?